All right, so NVIDIA has definitely hit this 275.58 monthly. See that monthly? Tag a little bit above. Oh, it's coming back in. So I said, if you're gonna, why not take a flyer right here, low risk entry. Here's the mean. In other words, the reversion to the mean is about 240. Really, at some point, we're going to start to have some consequences of this exuberant rally. So AI comes down, NVIDIA comes down. You could see yesterday it had broken this trend line, needed to get below 275. It did. It closed beautifully below. It's now on its way to 265. I like this gap fill, 264.35. So this is working as a rollover. Here's what I expect. I expect that this NVIDIA is going to come and overshoot the gap fill that is here, 263. And it will basically come all the way down to this, tag it, and then bounce. I don't mean a big bounce, by the way, but I would expect this to kind of peter out, overshoot, bounce, and then continue lower. But for right now, that's absolutely the price target, 264.35. And you can see it's kind of sitting just on a gap down. It's sitting on daily support. So kind of keep that in mind. And as far as weekly, that's resistance. So 264 is a weekly support level, right? It's also that intraday support level of 264.35. Microsoft, weak, fall into 284. We talked about that as 290 being potential resistance. It definitely filled that gap though. So I had a price target that I felt very comfortable. It would hit 285.56 because of this weekly gap down. It got above it and hit a monthly, and now it's coming back in. All right, so that's all in time. All right, so 290, well, you can see it. 291, 290, however you want to do it, but make sure it stays below that if you're shorting. Very nice. We got to, again, reversion to the mean is about 270. So if you're just starting to take this on a rollover, you know it needs to break 284 and stay below 291. I don't think there's much in the way. As long as this is a beautiful gap down, daily support is just not very strong, honestly. Yeah, 264 is more likely. And AMD, gorgeous to the 21-day. And here's the break. That's the break you really needed. So 94.28 needs to stay inside 94.28 to continue down to 91. And then basically this mean reversion about 88. Needs to stay below 94.64. That's that level, little intraday gap fill, right? So keep it below. Break of 94.64. I don't have much here until we get to 91.37, honestly. No, they're definitely in distribution. So 91.37 intraday and 91, let's call it, on the weekly. You really want to see this get pushed further. 92.90 is daily support. Could bounce there, but if it breaks, it has a very nice move down to about 89.74. So it depends on your time frame. If you're chasing, if you're kind of more in for a directional swing play, and Qs, we still have Apple and Microsoft and Amazon and Google and holding up, but I think that this is a nice tease, test, break. Make sure it stays below 318.26. That SPX was a fabulous. If you're going to short it, make sure it stays below this 4129.48 because it hit 4133.13 and then immediately got rejected, but it has not fallen apart. All it's done is softened right here, right? So I can see, as I mentioned yesterday, 40.73, no issues, but that's going to, likely be defended. It's just how it works. I'm not seeing, emphasis, I'm not seeing anything yet below 315. Apple IV is rising and Apple is dumping. That's a fabulous go short from yesterday, 165.70. I don't know if it's going to turn into a swing short, but for right now, the chase, it's gapped down and it's softening. It had the Foxconn, news, which is fundamental. It had the Tim Cook selling of shares also revealed yesterday. So you got at least a great technical level to stay below if you're short Apple. Again, I don't know if it's going to turn into a swing trade, but for right now, it's working. Just the fact that it tagged and it's coming back in. Remember, this is a trend line, so it really needs to get back below 161 if it's going to have any teeth to it. Okay, so AMD, SMH, NVIDIA are solid follow through from yesterday. SPX is a solid resistance at that, 4130 area. Just a shallow pullback. I'm not seeing anything major yet. I see no major selling, number one. I see no major volatility surge, even forming. Okay, number two, credit spreads are still tight. My intermarket says gradual rotation. My roadmap still says grinding sideways to higher for SPY. I mean, this stuff is not just ready to crash. $187.61 from yesterday's price target, but I said I would not be surprised if it heads all the way back down to 184. So right now, we haven't even tagged 186 yet. Okay, NVIDIA is a very lovely breakdown. It's exactly at gap fill on the intraday. I think, and I said earlier, that open, I think it overshoots today and then bounces a wee bit. So what we have is a phenomenal gap fill. I think it overshoots, bounces, and then fills 259.50. Follow through. Yeah, this is about ready when we hit support across the board, right? 315, that's support. I'm a little annoyed it hasn't hit timed perfectly with my 4073, but it is in the same ballpark, right? So far, the resistance levels for small caps, for SMH and mega cap has worked extremely well. AMD pushed a little bit faster than I expected, but NVIDIA and SPX and the Qs are coming right into support. This has been absolutely controlled selling. Very, very quiet selling. The tide lifts all boats, right? So semis are coming into that distribution. Even TSM is getting tapped down here. 93.81, but it's still above the 10-week. Petered out, but it hasn't rolled over. It's just gone sideways. On a daily, looks a little bit different. A little bit more distribution, but really hasn't fallen apart. TSM needs to break and stay below 90.37. Has a nice look of sideways, but we need this to stay below, let's call it 94, 93.60. I've got 93.81, doesn't matter. So it's definitely having a tough time getting back above this 93.81. Potential breakdown, it's a little early. On a daily, it is weak, staying below 90.37. It can absolutely make a run back to 87. Think the gamma level is 40.70. And 40.51 is not only a gamma level, 40.50 area, big put wall, but it's also a gap fill. And any close below 40.62 is going to get us into that gap fill area right here. Otherwise, we got miles to go before this is a trend reversal. Okay. So in other words, we could still just pull back shallow all the way back to 40.20 and then move higher into, 4,200. So just keep this in perspective. Yes, we had some really nice tag year it and come back in, but we need follow through. And right now this morning, we're already getting a little bit of buying